Thank you, Akash. Good day, everyone. Welcome to ACDT number 63. Today's December 8th, 2025. We have a very light agenda, but I think the most important discussion point is that Fusaka fork happened last week and went well. But yeah, for the first point, I would like to start with, yeah, congratulations, everyone. um, for the first point, I would like to touch upon the events that happened. If anyone from any team, I think Prysm is one of the ones that wants to share more in this section. Is anyone from Prysm here? Should we start with them? If not, Barnabas, do you have any events that happened during the fork that are important, meaningful that we should share?
Yeah, so Prysm metastations came in a bit late, and this ended up in a cascading effect. They had a flag to fix the issue, and that was already included in their latest release in 7.0.0. And they said that they would push out a proper fix sometime today. I haven't heard anything from them since, but hoping in a new Prism release for early this week, ideally by end of today.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I think we can give some time from someone to Prism to join if they want to expand. From any other teams, do we have any important events that are worth sharing here? Findings or reports, bugs found, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I can share one thing. So um, I don't think there's any impact in this, but one of the things, this is through going through the Titan Relays GitHub. I noticed that, so we introduced a get payload v2 for Fusaka. I noticed that a bug fix where they didn't add it to the routes. Like basically like they didn't add it to their API routes. That would ideally have caused like payload, the API not found, but I think luckily we had fallbacks in both commit boost and mef boost to like avoid this. So I just thought like that's something kind of notable, but I there wasn't like any impact on that as far as I'm aware. Like so, yeah, I think if that the fallbacks weren't there, there would have been a bunch of missed slots. So, but yeah, but I wanted to like point that out.
Thank you. Was there any impact on network stability that was worth sharing, or wasn't not noticeable?
No, on the get payload v2, there was an impact because the clients MEF boost and commit boost both implement like fallback. So when we call v2 and it's not there, we fall back to like the v1 API. So the v1 API is definitely has to be implemented, otherwise the relay wouldn't be alive. So so yeah, so there wasn't like any impact because we also noticed no like missed slots in that aspect. There was no impact on that, and yeah, but it was something like worth like just bringing out and like letting you guys know.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, cool. Um, any other findings or comments from other client teams that is worth sharing in this meeting? All right. I think not. That's actually good. I see a comment from the peer-to-peer team. No, sorry, for Barnabas. Um, Raul, do you want to expand? I see you also commented on this.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give a short update on some data we've been collecting from mainnet in preparation for BPO1, just to kind of like maybe give a bird's eye view of how things are progressing and what we've seen, and maybe some recommendations. Not necessarily for BPO1, which is coming tomorrow, but for next BPO upgrades. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. All right, cool. Let me get this ready. So what the link that Barnabas shared is actually from a small set of notebooks that we're putting together, and this is going to be enhanced over the next few days. We're hoping to basically get different perspectives and vantage points into the network from different areas to kind of like keep tabs on how things are going. So the first notebook that I wanted to show here is one that shows blob inclusion. So that's basically the patterns that we're seeing in terms of how many blocks were including how many blobs over time. And you can see that kind of like the most popular ones, the most popular blob counts are 9, which means that we are obviously at like almost saturation right now. Then you do see some density, some more density on 6, 3, and 0. Some blocks didn't include any blobs. We'll touch on that briefly now. This is another similar view, but this is breaking it down by epoch. So you can see kind of like a little bit of a flame graphish view on how many blocks included how many blobs in a particular epoch. And you can see some interesting patterns here. Like, for example, there was an epoch that included a high rate of blocks with no blobs. Sorry, I don't know why I can't zoom in here. Other graphs allow me to zoom in, but not this one. So this one, and then kind of like the next epochs actually compensated for that by stretching and including 9 blobs. So we see that elasticity in the mempool and that elasticity in inclusion, which is great. We see the same pattern here again. We're actually investigating exactly what might have happened here. There were kind of like a sequence of 9 or 7 blocks, I think, that didn't include any blobs. So we're actually finding patterns here and then doing deep dives. So I'll probably have another further update to share at another point. This is a pivoted view of the same thing, but this is showing, just a different view where we see that exactly that pattern. So what we see here is that, yeah, so most we're actually seeing blobs included, and especially kind of like a high rate at saturation there at the max blobs. Sorry, that went out. And then these are some other views. These are like maybe some more visual candy. This is one, actually, let me go into column propagation because this is the first one that I wanted to point out some patterns on. So what we see here is basically all this data that I'm showing you is just from yesterday. These notebooks are going to be regenerated on a daily basis, and we'll probably add more longer periods and longer views so that we can keep tabs on kind of like, the evolution side of things. And what we see here is for rows are columns, and these correspond to column subnets. And then this is the passage of time, and we're actually plotting for every slot. When do we see the first column? When do we see the first copy of each column? So you can see some very interesting patterns here where you see that there's actually a lot of similarity. If you look at the Z value here as I'm scrolling, as I'm moving my mouse down, you see that that is actually changing on a per column basis. Sorry, I just moved across slots. So you saw it change more than it does within a slot. But you see there, like the moment that we see a first column, we're basically like practically see all other columns at the same time. This data, by the way, is collected from EthPandaOps' Chateau deployment. We need to qualify it a little bit better because there's a mixture of nodes, so different nodes might be seeing different things. And of course, we're plotting the min for every column here, so there might be some adjustment that's needed here. But yeah, some interesting bits is that we do have some slots where, for example, the first copy of every column was seen kind of like 200 milliseconds before the attestation deadline. And this is like starts to be problematic. We need to correlate this with blob count and a bunch of other things. So it's again like this will be enhanced. But yeah, you see kind of like when the first column is seen, then the rest of the columns are practically seen at the same time. This is a similar graph, but more sensitive. This is actually computing the intra-slot delta from the fastest column. and plotting it in milliseconds. The time scale is, so you see the sensitivity here, like practically once we see the first column, all of the columns are seen like within 250 milliseconds, which confirms this sort of pattern here. But what I found interesting is this one, delta normalized is just, so this is in millisecond terms, and this would be in percent terms. So basically, if 0 is the fastest column and 1 is the slowest column, then what is the pattern that we're seeing here? And you see that in general, like we see some banding, which is very interesting. So we see that the first columns are actually seen sooner. And this makes sense because clients are probably block builders are probably pushing columns sequentially to the network, starting from 0 and then progressing up until 127, 0 indexed. And yeah, so we see more. So these are the first columns that we see, but then we see some banding as well, which is very interesting. We're investigating where this is coming from because it doesn't necessarily come from like, binary like indices or anything like that. So it might just be that the subnets behind the meshes behind these custody subnets are actually stronger or are better resourced. But you do see like some stepping there, which is very interesting. So we're trying to like dig into that, and I think we'll have some data. And then the one that Barnabas deep link to is the blob flow. So we've charted once again using shadow data, which is super helpful, which also pulls from Meteor. We are seeing what we see here is which proposer entities are including how many blobs. This is a direct relationship between proposers and number of blobs, and then relays to blob count. So we wanted to check, is there a pattern? Are some relays including favoring blobs or like specific blob counts or not? We just see kind of like for reference purposes, a proposer to entity relay. So we see like which proposer entities are using which relays. And then finally, I think this like puts everything together. This will be the most interesting one out of here that kind of like connects all the dots across the board. There's really like the spread is pretty uniform, not uniform, but I would say like there's no pattern that really stands out here except for one that I pointed out to the Flashbots people, which is we do see that they're proportionally to the amount of blocks that they relay, they have a larger they are above average in 0 blobs. Essentially, that's kind of like the one thing that stood out. So yeah, having done that overview, very brief overview, I wanted to go back to the column propagation one, because this pattern is denoting that there's some room for optimization in dispatching columns to the network. And what I wanted to propose to CLs here is there was an optimization that we shipped a few months back, which is in Gossip Hub. It is a what we called batch publish, but essentially this is a breadth first policy for getting columns out as a builder or as a node that happens to have those columns that happens to have all blobs, and therefore you can source them from get blobs, and you're able to publish the message in the first place. So you don't even need to wait for the builder's propagation. So in these two cases, it's going to help to do a breadth first dispatch. So that is with batch publish, we're giving 128 columns directly to Gossip Hub. And then today, most implementations, if they don't use breadth first dispatch, what they're going to do is they're going to prioritize sending all 6 or 8 or 10 copies or whatever the mesh degree is for every column first, and then they will move on to the next column, and so on and so on. And that could be justifying the pattern that we see here. So with breadth first dispatch, what we'd be doing is basically prioritizing sending like at least 2 copies of each column first, and then we continue deepening the replication in each, the redundancy in each subnet. So that would be one of the things that we propose, and this is already implemented in Gossip Hub. So for the Prysm team, it's going to be quite easy to adopt once they upgrade Gossip Hub. I heard from Joao and others that maybe it's not needed in Lighthouse, but I wanted to double click on that and then wanted to check with other teams as well. Of course, this change would not be consensus breaking in any way. It's just a network optimization. So I'll stop sharing there and just wait for any questions.
Thank you so much. Any questions on this? I think since this was a little bit impromptu, we might need to revisit the topic also in ACDC if possible, just to check if anyone is missing from this conversation. They should be aware of it on ACDC. But yeah, Pawan?
Yeah, hi, quick question. Did you also measure anything with related to get blobs effectiveness? Like, are we still seeing private blobs at all? Or
Yeah.
yeah, just wanted to see if there's any difference between
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great
Mhm.
question. Actually, we need to correlate this data with precisely presence of blobs in the mempool, with missed slots, and with a bunch of other things that we have in mind. So not yet, but hopefully by today or tomorrow, we'll be having that correlation. And I'm happy to send people a link in Discord.
Cool. Any other questions? All right. I think not. Amazing presentation, Raul. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. So circling back to Fusaka, because I see that someone from Prism joined. Who was it? James. Yeah, James from Prism. Do you have any? Because we touched upon the topic of Fusaka at first, and I think Prism would like to if they have any updates to the events that happened during mainnet. So just wanted to chime in to see if you have any updates on that, or anyone else from Prism is if they're listening.
Yeah, I guess we're trying to do another release with a more permanent fix. Um, Hopefully that comes out today, if not the next few days. Uh, and POTUS is also helping write up a technical postmortem, and we'll have like a more official postmortem as well. And the
Cool.
new release will have a backfill in it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for the update. All right. All right. So yeah, with Fusaka out of the door, we have also BPO fork number 1 happening tomorrow in less than exactly 24 hours almost. I just wanted to bring out the topic to see if anyone had any necessary comments on this. Are we good to go? Or any concerns that can be raised at this point? Yeah, I guess not much to say on that topic. We will monitor the chain tomorrow when the fork happens, and stay in the camps to see that everything goes smoothly. All right. With that, any other topics on Fusaka or any other comments on Fusaka that anyone wants to share today? If not, we can go directly to Amsterdam. Yeah, all right. So the first topic in the agenda for Amsterdam is block level access list. Do we have anyone in the call that would like to share some updates on this?
I can maybe start out giving some updates from our side. So we've been running the Kurtosis testnets a lot, and I managed to get a new milestone of 13 epochs running with 4 clients, which is the most we've done so far. So that's pretty nice. Otherwise, I think Nethermind has now also added the debug endpoint. I will share kind of the link. in the chat if clients can, if possible, add the debug add point, update the debug bad blocks endpoint to add the generated block access list. That would be great. So it's easier to debug. I think we have now Nethermind and Bezo that have it. Otherwise, we've been finding still quite a few issues in the kurtosis network. So we would recommend the clients all run with the EVM fuzzer still to see if there are any issues with their clients. I think that's the easiest way kind of to figure out if there are any inconsistencies still. Even if you pass all the tests, we're still finding some issues. For example, a recent one, maybe Felipe can talk about it more also if you're on the call, about kind of some of the tests that you've been working on. And that will be in the next release.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we've been finding basically gas boundary issues in I think you found one, Stefan, with self-destruct. And so we've been working on adding tests around checking gas before account accesses all throughout the spec where this is found. And right now we have, I would say, probably 1 or 2 new cases of this, and we already had quite a few in the last releases, but we hope to get these reviewed and merged in and released early this week for clients to be testing against. And anything that we're finding in kurtosis, we've been trying to write tests for as well. Although sometimes without these debug endpoints, they're not as easy to find. So these would help quite a bit.
Yeah, and also I think most clients now have it in their logging when there is a disagreement that you log either just the minimal diff or just log the whole block level access list. So it's easier in the tests and also in the kurtosis networks to see what is the difference. That's been very nice. And like my goal would be to start the DevNet. I've actually already accidentally started DevNet, but I can't really run any load on it because it will basically fall apart pretty quickly. So we will probably start DevNet 1 once kurtosis is running for at least 24 hours with at least 3 clients. That's kind of the benchmark where I would like to start like a proper DevNet. I think that's pretty much it from my side. And we one more update we've added was AL. It's caught up with most of the block level access list, so that's pretty nice. Test.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
Also,
Yeah, please go ahead.
yeah, I've been also working on some of the last bunch of tests. Those cover system contracts. So those are like beacon root and other system operations, trying to see if those work in isolation well and with user contracts. So we should have those in the messages.
Thank you. All right. Any comments from EL devs on block level access list? If not, thanks so much, Stefan and Felipe, for the work that you guys been putting on this. And yes, it's nice to hear that even though we are having failures, we are creating tests with it. So I think that's very helpful and very fruitful. So yeah, let's see if we can launch DevNet number 1 in the following weeks. Cool. So if nothing else from block level access list, thanks for sharing the updates. We can move on to EPBS, and I see that Justin, you already shared a update on the comments. Would you like to chime in?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I can just give a recap of what I just said then. Yeah, we had a breakout call on Friday. It's very long. It went like 25 minutes over. We talked about dynamic penalties, which could solve the free option problem for in EPBS and out of EPBS. The non-staked builder API from Barath. There's a Discord thread that we can talk about that in if you want. And trustless payments. We didn't make a decision about trustless payments at the breakout call, but we're planning to make that decision at ACDC this week. So please review the arguments from like both sides so that we're prepared to make a decision. The next breakout call is December 19th, and that's also the last EPBS breakout call. We'll start doing that here at ACDT starting in 2026. And then I've been personally working on refactoring withdrawals code and the specs. Do client teams have any updates?
Just to surface one comment from Barnabas. Last Friday on the call, we didn't hear any significant amount of argument why we should remove trustless payments.
Debatable. I don't know.
Yes, Bharat?
Yeah, I think one thing outside trustless payments in EPBS is that one thing to make a decision on and to decide is whether we will have unstaked builders in EPBS. So there's been debate on whether clients will even like reach out to builders who are not staked, or whether will we have builders, right? Basically, whether today none of the builders are staked, right? We have off-chain entities. The decision of whether like clients are gonna like only support like stake builders versus like, okay, we're also gonna like talk to stake builders and also gonna talk to unstaked builders. I think that's probably also a decision we might want to make. I don't think that'll happen in ACDC on Thursday, but I think it's a conversation because there are some implications like we probably wouldn't have to maintain like the builder specs anymore. I think Mev Boost would kind of like get out of the picture based on that decision. So yeah, on my part, like I have written a design for the builder API. Like I've iterated also a little bit from last Friday from the EPBS breakout because regardless of whether we support staked or unstaked, it's a useful data point to have on how the builder API will look like so that we can make a decision like oh, it's too complex, it's not worth it, or something like that. So yeah, that's another decision we probably have to make for EPBS. I've heard a bunch of conflicting opinions. So yeah, it's probably, as Justin mentioned, there is a thread in the Discord chat. So that's a conversation like I think we should start and like move on. Like.
Thank you. All right, and one good comment from Katia is there's a question about whether we should be defining some EPBS metrics across clients to gather during DevNuts. I think that's important. Do you have any idea on that, or is this too early to decide? All right, maybe it's too early. Cool. Any other comments on EPBS? If not, we can move on. Please join the ACDC to continue discussing this, and also the breakout call on December 19th to join the discussion to make the decision about trustless payments. All right, so moving on. on the last topic of the agenda, we have the gas topic, or basically the state benchmarking and the compute benchmarking. Do we have any updates on this topic? Camila, I see that you are on the call. Anything to share here?
Yeah. Hi. So we have few things which we are working on right now. Most importantly, focusing with all our efforts right now on repricings. So we have a tooling how to tackle that. We are just making some improvements. On a Thursday, I noticed few of the scenarios which are not behaving properly under the EST execute, which Louis is taking a look at right now. So we'll have a better approach for that. Last week also we confirmed some stateful scenarios performance, which improved on Nethermind side, specifically because Nethermind seems like it's a little bit slower than others because of the DB design. And right now our efforts internally are in Nethermind are to make a better DB design to not be a blocker for any potential future gas increases. And yes, and one more thing is we have this new process for filtered 100 megagas blocks for a compute testing. I've seen updates from Spencer on that and want to include that so we have a better, more frequent updates of testing scenarios out there. So yes, we are progressing. I want to make sure that maybe some further bump of 75 megagas blocks is viable in short term, but doing some improvements to confirm that.
Excellent. Yes, thanks. On the artifacts for 100 million gas tests, we do have a new workflow and it should be running at the moment. Basically, this is going to generate new benchmarks tests, state fixtures, to be released on a more frequent basis. And this is just going to be a release of 100 million gas. So this should be available using the artifacts download command line from GitHub. I think we can share more details on how to access this async. But yeah, basically the idea is that we are gonna be able to make releases, not for releases, but the tests, they're gonna be available much sooner than the release cycle that we've been having so far up until now. Cool. Thank you, Camille, for the update. And yeah, Spencer just shared the details on this update on the artifacts. Excellent. Anything else on this topic that anyone wants to chime in?
Yes, just last thing is that for repricings, which are very tightly related to gas bumps for future, internally in Nethermind, we are working on better traceability of the blocks from the past. So right now we have only RPC calls, and RPC is quite slow for tracing the historical blocks, or at least to check how the blocks look like. So not full traces, but only opcode traces. And right now we have a Nethermind plugin, which is capable of tracing quite a huge chunk of blocks very, very fast, just to get information which opcodes were used. Right now it's under testing. Right now executing a trace for 1 million blocks of Sepolia, and it will be much faster than RPC stuff, but it's still waiting for the result and fixing some issues. But this might be interesting. So anyone interested in such data, let me know if you have anything you would like to learn more. Just accept of the raw number of opcodes per range of blocks.
Excellent, thank you. Do you have a link for this or?
Not yet link because this is like very early stage. I mean, we are right now testing it. Once PR will be published, I will send a link.
Of course, thank you. Cool. Anything else anyone wants to share about the benchmarking?
We have a spec for your PC endpoint testing build block. It will be to build blocks from provided transactions, and spec is drafted, and we have proof of concept implementation in Nethermind, and I also saw that Ref has some implementation. So we are at this page, and in Nethermind, I need to fix a few minor issues. So it's generally written, but I need to fix it to work properly.
Thank you. I shared the link for this proposal. Please take a look. I think it's important that we decide on what do we want out of this endpoint. It's also going to help testing because in theory, we should be able to even field tests using this endpoint. So it's going to be very, very fruitful. So please chime in if you have any ideas, especially from other EL clients. If you have like comments or if you think this is going to be there's going to be trouble implementing this, just please right now is the correct time to come in and chime in into this new proposal. All right, thank you, Marcin. Yeah, all right. I think we with that we finished the last topic. Do we have any other topics that anyone wants to chime in before we close?
Hey, I just wanted to, I guess, bring up a small kind of testing organizational question. I guess mostly for EL client devs and then also DevOps. So I guess since last week, we have the new CFI'd EIPs. So the way I see it now is we kind of have like these free tracks going on for Glamsterdam. So the free pricing, block access lists, and then the new CFI'd EIPs. Last week, we internally spoke in our testing meeting about how we want to do test releases. And basically, we want to start working on the new CFI'd EIPs, the specs, and get some tests out. So I guess I just wanted to ask the question, do EL clients prefer that we, and DevOps prefer that we kind of test these new EIPs separately outside of block access lists? I think for us, that's what we prefer. So just to throw the question out there, I think we should have these separate block access list test releases, and then maybe separate test releases with the new CFI'd EIPs, and that would encompass all of the new CFI'd EIPs, if that makes sense. Or if anyone has any better suggestions. Yeah, just throwing the question out there just to see how we can get Glamsterdam tested as efficiently as possible.
Amazing. I think, yeah, Dragon.
I don't have a preference here, but it feels that clients are making good progress on the ball. So it seems okay to test all of them with the ball. But yeah, because when we are testing new APIs, we'll be testing a ball in same place. So maybe it will be a little bit better, but yeah, saying it again, I don't have a big preference here. In general, if there is no ball inside the state test or blockchain test, or no, not state, but blockchain test, we will not create a compare ball at all. If there is ball, we will compare it. So either way works.
Got it. Thank you. I think the main question is how far ahead are the client teams? I don't think much because we just decided this last week. But yeah, the testing team, I think we can go either way. We can just make the releases on top of block access. In my opinion, maybe if we do this approach, it will expedite the testing because if you are testing everything together, it's gonna end up faster in the devnets. So maybe that's beneficial. So we could explore that maybe. All right. Any comments from all the other client teams on this? If not, we can take this to the team and maybe we can make a decision and update you guys async on what we have decided. Basically, just whether the EIPs and the block level access lists are separated or joined together. And yeah, just one comment. Seems simpler to test with block level access list, but no sort of preference. Yeah, I personally would lean towards putting the EIPs with the block level access list already, just to make sure that we are testing faster for DevNet for the future DevNets. Makes sense. Okay. We'll go with that approach. If there's an updates in the meantime before next ACD, we can keep you guys updated on the async channels, or if we find any issues or we have any problems doing this approach. Cool. Yeah, more comments supporting this. Okay, sounds good. All right, thanks for the input. All right, anything else that anyone wants to share today before we close up? All right. If not, I think that's the end of the call. Thanks everyone for joining, and happy BPO1 fork tomorrow, and see you in ACD on Thursday.
Bye-bye.